Have you ever locked eyes with a woman and felt something storming inside you, something powerful but hard to name? There's a sweetness in her gaze that disarms you, makes you forget the edge you've spent your life sharpening. Now listen, this isn't just poetic talk. This is design. There's a kind of wisdom that modern men have turned their backs on. Not because it's false, but because it costs too much to understand. Socrates didn't avoid this kind of knowledge. He walked right into it. And what he found wasn't some bitter hatred toward women, it was a deeper truth about their nature, one that still echoes through the male experience today. He didn't preach with resentment. He spoke with clarity, forged in the fire of reason. He knew that men are shaped by clarity, but women? Women are shaped in layers, layers of smoke, mystery, paradox. He wasn't trying to insult. He was trying to wake men up. Because anything hidden shouldn't be trusted blindly. And anything that captivates you must first be understood, otherwise, it might consume you. Back in Athens, they laughed at Socrates. The jurors condemned him. But he didn't flinch. Why? Because he understood something most men still don't. If you only see a woman as she appears, but not as she functions, you're like a soldier distracted by the shine of an enemy's blade, beautiful, yes, but deadly. Socrates didn't give answers, he asked questions. So here's one for you. Why does she seek power behind the curtain, in the shadows? Why is her affection often layered with strategy? Why does her silence sometimes speak louder than her words? If you don't ask these questions, you'll never truly see her. And if you don't see her, you'll kneel, not in love, but in confusion. In the Republic, Socrates talks about the just soul, a soul balanced, led by reason, not by appetites or impulses. But let's flip that. What happens when a man builds his life around a woman he doesn't understand? That man isn't building a soul, he's building a shrine to confusion. And here's the hard truth, the tyrant soul, the one driven by unchecked desire, is always thirsty. Never still. Look around, how many men today put on the suit of logic and self-control, but underneath, they're starving for feminine approval? How many build entire empires, not for meaning, not for legacy, but just to impress a woman who'll walk away the moment the walls show a crack? Socrates wasn't warning you about her. He was warning you about you. When you don't understand her nature, she isn't your enemy. She isn't your savior either. She's the test. And every man must face it. You pass, or you break under your own illusions. We're taught to chase beauty. But Socrates knew beauty was the bait. What matters isn't the image, it's the intention behind it. That's where men fail. You chase the look. You forget the essence. You crave her touch. You ignore her pattern. You don't study, you fall. And when you fall, don't expect her to catch you. Not because she's cruel. Because that's not her job. Nature didn't build her for that. She selects. She tests. She adapts. But she doesn't build. You build. That's your role. That's your burden. And whether you like it or not, that's your crown. A man, Socrates said, must live an examined life. That doesn't just mean pondering the stars. It means examining your thoughts about her. Your needs. Your weaknesses. Your longings. If you won't look at those, she will, and she'll use what you ignore. Not out of evil, but out of instinct. Like a river doesn't hate the rock it shapes, a woman doesn't hate the man she outmaneuvers. She's just doing what she was made to do. The real question is, are you doing what you were made to do? Socrates lived in a time full of men chasing the illusion of power, votes, money, praise. But he knew true power belongs to the man who cannot be deceived, especially by what he loves. That's where it all begins. You weren't born to orbit her. You were born to govern yourself. And that starts with a brutal level of self-awareness. The unexamined desire? That's even more dangerous than the unexamined life. And desire hides best in the world of women. It doesn't show up with warning signs. It disguises itself as devotion, as destiny. But it's actually driven by something more primal, survival, strategy, instinct. You call it love. She calls it timing. In Phaedrus, Socrates warned that love without reason is a form of madness. Divine, maybe. But madness still. He said, when the soul is pulled by lust, it becomes like a wingless creature, crawling in circles, chasing the source of its appetite. Look around. How many men are caught in that cycle? How many give up their mission, their discipline, their strength, for what? A glance. A soft laugh. A moment of closeness. A quick hit of dopamine. You're not here to be consumed by the feminine. You're here to understand it. And that means seeing how it operates. Socrates observed that men seek truth. But women often seek alignment. Not with truth, but with security. That's not a weakness. That's brilliant biology at work. But if you're blind to it, it'll feel like betrayal when it's just nature doing its thing. She's not scanning for virtue. She's scanning for strength. For stability. For a man who can hold his ground when everything else starts shaking. She doesn't fall for your intellect. She falls for your presence. Your command. Your center. But here's where so many men mess it up: you hand her the crown before you even wear your own. You put her on a pedestal above your purpose, and then wonder why she tests you, pushes you, withdraws. She's not punishing you. She's responding to what you've shown, that your soul is for sale. Socrates broke the soul into 3 parts: reason, spirit, appetite. The best version of a man lives with reason in command. But if appetite takes the wheel, sexual hunger, emotional craving, social validation, you don't lead anymore. You follow. Not her. Your addiction to her. You've seen these guys. They don't have their own light. They wait for her to shine on them. They bow without asking why. They burn their values just to keep her warm. And if you're not careful, that could be you. Socrates lived surrounded by men who couldn't tell the difference between noise and wisdom, charm and truth. He saw the deception, and when he tried to wake people up, they killed him for it. But his voice still speaks. Not to the crowd. Not to the simps. To you, the man brave enough to want clarity. He knew women are wired for the present. For emotion. For safety. And men? We're built to carry the burden of the future. Our minds stretch forward. Our souls crave legacy. Our bones carry vision. But vision is heavy. And the feminine offers a beautiful escape from that weight: comfort, softness, peace. But it's an illusion. You cannot trade your destiny for her approval and expect to remain whole. Your peace must come from your own clarity, not her compliance. Because she will test you. Over and over. She will reflect your uncertainty back to you like a mirror you can't escape. And if you haven't mastered yourself, she'll master you. Not because she wants to, but because that's how her instincts work. Socrates never said to fear women. He said to understand them. Not through suspicion, but through truth. She's not your anchor. She's the tide. Can you feel the difference? That's where you begin, not with control, not with resentment, but with understanding. Because she isn't the problem. She's the puzzle. And you? You're the one who's meant to solve it, not by force, but by presence. Not by worship, but by examination. You ever wonder why some men fall apart the moment a woman walks away? Not because she did anything wrong, but because he never knew who he was without her gaze. That's the truth most don't want to admit. We think the pain comes from losing her. But it actually comes from realizing we had nothing holding us up in the first place. Socrates knew this long ago. He didn't blame women. He didn't even warn against them like a threat. He warned about us. About what happens when a man builds his identity around someone else's attention instead of his own alignment. See, when you chase her validation, you're not chasing love. You're chasing relief, from your own silence, your own doubts, your own inner confusion. And that relief becomes addictive. She becomes your fix. Not because she asked for it, but because you gave her that role in your story. And here's where the storm really brews: she will mirror what you bring. If you walk in as a man who's unclear, unsure, unanchored, she'll sense it. Not consciously, but instinctively. Women are built to detect weakness in the frame. Not to shame it. To test it. To see if it holds. Because remember, she's not here to build your foundation. She's here to test whether it already exists. So what happens when you fail that test? She pulls back. She questions. She hesitates. Not because she's cruel, but because nature made her discerning. And if you haven't mastered your own hunger, your own cravings for attention, approval, intimacy, you're not leading, you're leaning. And the moment you lean too far, she steps aside. And you fall. Most men confuse that fall for betrayal. But Socrates would say it was a revelation. You weren't standing on your own to begin with. We live in a time where men are more informed than ever, but less examined than ever. We can quote studies, cite podcasts, and repeat every red pill phrase. But none of it matters if we haven't interrogated our own hearts. What do you want from her? Love? Security? Validation? Why? If you don't know the why, you'll never see the what you're sacrificing to get it. And often, it's your spine. Your focus. Your calling. Socrates divided the soul into 3: reason, spirit, and appetite. And he said the highest man is ruled by reason. Not that he has no feelings. But that his feelings don't make his decisions for him. Now look at today. How many men do you see led by appetite? Lust, loneliness, comfort, dopamine. Men who say they're in love, but what they really mean is, I feel good when she's around, and terrible when she's not. That's not love. That's addiction. The modern world has replaced meaning with mood. We chase women like Wi-Fi signals, constantly scanning for connection. But we've forgotten how to generate signal from within. And the truth is, if you haven't cultivated strength alone, you'll always lose it in her presence. Why? Because she's dynamic. She shifts. She changes. One day warm, next day distant. That's not dysfunction. That's feminine energy. Fluid. Emotional. In motion. And you? You're not meant to match that motion. You're meant to anchor it. You're meant to hold, not control, not dominate, but to remain unmoved. Not indifferent. Just whole. Because the moment you rely on her emotional weather to determine your internal climate, you've lost the throne. And no matter how much she loves you, she cannot admire a man who abandons himself. Let's go deeper. Socrates once said that the unexamined life is not worth living. But here's the twist, the unexamined desire is even more dangerous. And nowhere is desire more deceptive than in the realm of women. It doesn't arrive with a warning label. It shows up in music, in movies, in late-night texts, in the longing to be chosen, to be held, to be seen. And it whispers, this is love. But often, it's just unspoken insecurity looking for a stage. You want to be seen? Then learn to see yourself. You want to be wanted? Then become a man worth wanting, not through performance, but through presence. Because when you're whole, she feels it. It's not in your flex, your money, your lines. It's in your gaze. Your calm. Your ability to say no when others would chase. To walk away when your boundaries are crossed. To stay silent when approval could be bought with compromise. That's power. And it can't be faked. See, she's not trying to lead you. She doesn't want the crown. She wants to know the crown exists. She wants to feel like the kingdom is safe, not because she controls it, but because you do. But if you abandon that kingdom every time she frowns or withdraws affection, you're not her king. You're a subject. Waiting. Hoping. Performing. Socrates understood that virtue is not what looks good, it's what is good. Not based on applause, but on alignment. So ask yourself, when was the last time you made a decision for your soul, not your image? When did you last say no to her, not out of rebellion, but out of reverence for your own clarity? When did you last walk away, not to manipulate her, but because you knew staying would cost your peace? That's not cruelty. That's discipline. Women don't test men to destroy them. They test to discover what contains them. And if you fail the test, she moves on, not because she didn't love you, but because nature rewards structure. Not softness. Not submission. Structure. You are not the emotional sponge. You are the frame. You are not the candle flickering in her winds. You are the lighthouse. And if you forget that, no amount of game, charm, or poetry will save you. She may sleep next to you. But she won't rest in you. Because her nervous system knows the truth your mouth can't hide, you're not solid. Socrates didn't call this out with drama. He whispered it through every teaching. That man's greatest enemy is not the outside world, but the untamed chaos within. And so we return to the mirror. Do you know what you're made of? Because if you don't, she'll find out before you do. And when she does, she will do what she was designed to do, respond. Not to your words. Not to your potential. But to your presence. Not to what you promise. But to what you embody. She is nature. You are structure. She is ocean. You are shore. She is wild. You are rooted. When you live that way, not to prove, but because it's who you are, she doesn't resist. She relaxes. She doesn't control. She trusts. She doesn't test. She chooses. And that choice, brother, is not love won by performance. It's love earned by alignment. So what's the work, then? What do we actually do with all this? We stop blaming. Stop pointing the finger at women, at society, at modern dating. Because as long as you're stuck in that story, of being the victim, the wounded, the misunderstood, you'll never become the builder. A man's power doesn't come from control. It comes from construction, from what he builds within himself. And that begins in silence. Not scrolling, not venting, not drowning in content about high-value men or alpha energy. No. Just silence. Just you, your breath, and the chaos within you. Can you sit with it? Can you sit with your need to be seen, without being seen? Can you sit with your craving for touch, without reaching for it? Can you face the emptiness, without filling it? Most can't. And that's why most break. Because the real test isn't when she pulls away. It's when your mind does. When your old addictions creep in. When your ego whispers, you're not enough without her. But here's the truth, any identity that requires her to exist, was never really yours to begin with. You want to be a king? Then build the kingdom first. The throne, the walls, the laws, the standards. Not for her, but for you. And then, if she comes, she's received. Not required. That's the difference between love and need. Love flows from overflow. Need flows from lack. One attracts. The other chases. And women can feel the difference. You think she left you because of another guy? Maybe. But often, it's deeper. She left because your center was off. Because you made her the sun, and no woman wants to orbit a man who's spinning. She doesn't want to be your purpose. She wants to join it. And if you don't have one, if you don't have a mission, a path, a structure to pour your energy into, then she becomes your mission by default. And that's too much pressure. Even if she loves you, she'll suffocate under that weight. So, what do? You build the frame. And no, I don't mean a six-pack and a Rolex. I mean this. Wake up early, because you said you would. Train your body, not to look good, but to feel capable. Master your mind, through reading, through journaling, through wrestling with the uncomfortable questions. Build something, whether it's a business, a craft, a legacy. Stand for something, even if it costs you approval. That's the kind of man who doesn't need her. But when she arrives, he honors her. Not as a savior, but as a mirror. Because here's the paradox, the moment you no longer chase her, is when you start attracting women who are actually worth your time. Not the ones who test your wounds, but the ones who respect your boundaries. Not the ones who drain your focus, but the ones who expand your vision. Because feminine energy, real, healthy feminine energy, wants to surrender. But only to a man who can hold her without losing himself. And if you can't do that, it's not her fault. It's your invitation. To go inward. To excavate. To sharpen. And you don't need to become a monk. You just need to become a man again. Not the man the world told you to be. Not the player, the nice guy, the fixer, the avoidant, the chameleon. Just you. The man you were before the conditioning, before the heartbreaks, before the trauma taught you to hide. That version of you still exists. He's just buried under layers of shame, performance, and fear. Dig him out. Not for her. For you. Because here's the secret most never realize. When you become that man, not just act like him, but actually become him, women will feel it. Everyone will. You'll walk into a room, and people won't know why, but they'll respect you. You won't need to explain your value. You'll embody it. That's masculine energy. Calm. Grounded. Present. Focused. It doesn't need attention. It commands it. It doesn't seek approval. It sets the standard. It doesn't rush. It moves with purpose. And when you live like that, you stop chasing love. Because you are love. You stop begging for loyalty. Because your boundaries filter out the fake. You stop fearing her loss. Because you were never hers to lose. You were your own. From day one. So now it's time to come back to that. Fully. Deeply. Permanently. Not to win her. But to remember you. Now here's the twist most men never see coming. When you do this inner work, when you stop chasing and start building, you won't even want the same women anymore. Seriously. The version of you that craved her attention? That bent over backward to keep her? That lost sleep wondering what you did wrong? That version of you fades. Grows quiet. Dies, even. And what's left, is a man who sees clearly. You look back and realize, it wasn't love. It was addiction. Addiction to approval. To validation. To the idea of her. Not the real her. Not the complex, beautiful, flawed human being she is. But the role you wanted her to play in your story. You made her your savior, your healer, your source of joy. But that's not love. That's dependency dressed up as romance. Real love is different. It doesn't grip. It holds. It doesn't control. It invites. It doesn't complete you. It challenges you to stay whole on your own. And here's the thing, when you finally become whole, when you learn to meet your own needs, you won't chase women who don't respect you. You'll choose women who mirror your self-worth. Not because you're bitter. Not because you're playing hard to get. But because you know your value now. You finally do. And when you know your value, you stop selling yourself at a discount. You stop tolerating confusion, mixed signals, emotional games. You stop trying to earn love from people who haven't even earned your attention. Because the man who's built himself doesn't need to be chosen. He chooses. He chooses peace over chaos. He chooses purpose over pleasure. He chooses depth over drama. And ironically, that's what makes you magnetic. It's not about looks. It's not about charm. It's not even about money. It's about energy. That silent strength in your eyes. That unshakable calm. That, I'm good with or without you, energy. That's what makes women lean in and think, wait, who is that? You don't get that by faking it. You get it by earning it. Through work. Through solitude. Through rebuilding your core identity from scratch. And that takes time. You'll mess up. You'll slip. You'll fall back into old patterns. But each time you catch yourself and come back to your center, you grow. And eventually, something clicks. You stop reacting. You stop obsessing. You stop reaching for things outside of you to feel okay inside of you. Because you've finally met the one person you've been avoiding all along. You. And when that reunion happens, when you come back home to yourself, everything changes. You walk differently. You speak slower. You listen deeper. You smile more, but need less. You stop trying to prove anything, because there's nothing left to prove. You're no longer performing masculinity. You're embodying it. And guess what? That's when she shows up. Not the girl you used to chase, but the woman who's been waiting. The one who's done her work. The one who isn't looking to be rescued or worshipped. The one who doesn't need you, but deeply wants to build with you. And suddenly, you're not two halves trying to complete each other. You're two whole beings walking side by side, challenging each other, supporting each other, growing together. That's real love. That's rare. And it's only available to the man who's done the internal rewiring. So what now? You keep going. Keep stacking days of discipline. Keep choosing discomfort over distraction. Keep facing your triggers like a warrior, not a victim. Keep holding yourself to the vision you said you wanted, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. Because in a world full of noise, cheap pleasure, and weak promises, a grounded, disciplined, purpose-led man is a rare and dangerous force. He doesn't need to chase. He doesn't need to impress. He just is. And that's enough. Because in the end, you don't get the girl you fantasize about. You get the one who matches the man you've become. Now let's make something very clear. This isn't about becoming some cold, heartless man who never feels. You're not here to numb out. You're here to wake up. To feel more, not less. But to feel it all, with strength, with clarity, with discipline. You'll still feel pain. You'll still get rejected. You'll still have moments of doubt. But the difference is, those things no longer define you. They don't shake your foundation, because now, you have one. You've built your frame. And that frame, your purpose, your principles, your non-negotiables, holds you steady no matter what storm rolls in. That's what real masculinity is. It's not loud. It's not controlling. It's not performative. It's quiet strength. It's integrity in chaos. It's choosing the hard path not because it looks cool, but because it's right. And that changes the way you show up in every area of your life. You stop arguing just to win. You start listening to understand. You stop chasing moments of pleasure that leave you empty. You start building a life that makes you proud, day in, day out. And women? They feel that. Even before they hear a word from your mouth, they feel that energy in how you walk, how you breathe, how you carry yourself through the world. It's not about being perfect. It's about being rooted. And when you're rooted, no storm, no woman, no loss can take away what you've earned within. So this journey, it's not just about getting her back, or proving them wrong, or even leveling up just to flex. It's deeper. It's about becoming the kind of man who respects himself too much to settle. Who builds a life so aligned with his values that anyone who enters it knows they've stepped into something sacred. You become the man who doesn't need to speak loudly, because his presence says it all. And from that space, love comes. Peace comes. Brotherhood comes. Purpose expands. You stop surviving, and start living. So if you're still in the middle of it, if your heart is broken, if you feel lost, confused, angry, good. That means you're awake. Now don't run. Don't distract. Build. Slowly. Quietly. Relentlessly. Because one day, maybe months from now, maybe years, you'll look in the mirror and realize. You're no longer trying to get your old life back. You're too busy becoming the man who never needed to beg for love in the first place.